This video is about the starting with MyWorkPal from the ground up. So this is about you as a brand new user, a new what we call platform owner, taking control of your platform and managing it, creating all the assets and tenants and users that you need. So this really starts right from scratch. So as I go through the video, I suggest you just sort of watch it, pause it at various points, and then maybe go to your own platform and sort of reproduce what I do, the steps that I go through. So you should have received by now an email inviting you into to activate your account. So we have set you up as a full, what we call system administrator, which gives you sort of full rights over everything, all tenants, all permissions to do absolutely everything, and you can create new users, you can create tenants, you can do absolutely anything. And typically you would be managing this platform and creating your own stuff, your own users. We at Avantis also have system administrator rights, so that we can help you manage your platform, and we can sort of troubleshoot for you and support you on your journey. So you should have received an email something like this, and it's got it's sent to you. The username is usually your email address, and we have a link here with a complex sort of address on it. And when you create new admin users yourself, HR users or other administrators within your business, then it will follow the same sort of format. So you click on this and you'll arrive at this page. So I'm just going to add a password in there. Oop, it needs a stronger password than I'm doing, so let's try that. And also it needs a secret key. Now we will have sent the secret key to you. So this is just sort of a first time unlock code. You only need to use it once, but it separates out the basically separates out this email from your ability to unlock your account. So we'll just give you the secret. And again, that is the process that you'll do for your administrators when you create them. I will log in, and we have configured the admin system to require two-factor authentication, but it's up to you which authentication type that you would like, and there's some details in the knowledge base about how these work. You can allow or require two-factor authentication on user accounts within a tenant as well, so there's lots of configuration around that. But if we just if we take a simple step, I'm just going to go for a PIN number. So we've logged in, we've landed on what we call the platform dashboard. So this is a dashboard, this is personal to me, and I can manage that dashboard. So I can say, right, what widgets do I want in this dashboard? So here at the moment it's just got a list of tenants, but I can say, right, what else do I want? So we've got a list of widgets, and these are all depending on what permissions I have. I'm a system administrator, so I have full rights to everything, so I can see absolutely all of the widgets that are allowed. I could change the layout of the dashboard, so I tend to go for this sort of one-on-one columns, where you've got a wider column on the left and a narrow one on the right. So you might want to say, right, I want to see benefit auths, which I believe is a widget that shows you which tenants have people who have requested benefits that require authorization. So this shows all of the tenants, and it's showing that the ABC company has got benefits in there where there are 3 people requesting authorization of a benefit. So you can design this dashboard how you like as your own user, for your own account. A different administrator, they will have their own dashboard. They will define it how they like. So a quick walk around the rest of the page. Up at this top navigation bar here, we've got a drop-down list of all of the tenants. So here you can search for a name of a tenant, and that will come up there. So up at the top here, we've got the help menu. So this menu is broken down into help on this page. So this is like a context-sensitive article that says for this specific page. So we're on the page dashboard/platform. So it's about the platform dashboard. So it's a help article about this specific page. When we go into tenants and into benefits and into lots of different areas on the site, then we have written articles specifically about that page. So this will link directly to that. We haven't written about every single page, but we're catching up. So we're getting most of the pages there. Next, we've got the quick start guide, which I suggest that you watch or you read in conjunction with this video. And in fact, I think this video is actually going to be hosted on the quick start guide page, so you might be looking at it already. But that sort of starts at the top and says, this is MyWorkPal. Start reading here, and then come back in a week once you've read the whole lot, because there's quite a lot to go through. Next is the expression manual. So we'll be talking about a lot in expressions, which are the kind of almost the programming interface or the programming language within MyWorkPal that allow you to do lots of clever stuff with it. FAQ, we tend to, as much as possible, write answers to any questions in an FAQ on the knowledge base, so that they can be referred to by other people. So if you've got a question, it's probably been asked by somebody else, or if it hasn't, then it will be asked by somebody else. So we want to keep it in a central place. So we would advise that you go and have a look in the FAQ first and see if you see what you can find. If you can't, then give us a shout. Benefit library, this we'll go into detail on this later within the benefits video, where we're talking about this is where you can download some example benefits that we've created and configure them for yourself. Contact support, that just sends an email to us, so it'll just open an email in your client, and this is where you can just sort of drop us a line and ask us a question or report a problem that you're having. Release notes are linked to from here and from here, and they actually refer to the versions you're on. So this particular version at the time of doing this video is version 2.21.6, and this will say what is in this version, and it will say what are in all the previous versions. Now all these pages and this contact support are all using a ticket system, a third-party ticket system we're using called Freshdesk, and you should have an account with Freshdesk, and if you haven't got one, then give us a shout. But if I was to say click on help this page, it will open up a new page that will go to the article in Freshdesk, so faircare.freshdesk.com, and that will go to that page and tell you all about that. So, but as I say, the important one to get started is quick start guide. I'm not sure why I use the word quick, because it's actually quite a lot to go through, because it's a big complex system with a lot of capabilities. So this starts off about platform essentials, which is really what we're talking about here. Terminology, so what's the difference between platform level, tenant level, user level. Support and knowledge base, so talking about this actual system here. The admin tenant, so we are actually looking at the admin tenant. MyWorkPal is a multi-tenanted system, which means that you could have multiple companies within it, so company 1, company 2, etc. But admin is effectively a tenant as well, so anything that comes before the domain, so this would be your domain here, but anything that comes before it would be a specific tenant. Admin dashboards, which is what we're just looking at here, and then it starts to go into managing your tenants, managing users, back office, all this sort of thing, and then and that's actually referring to this menu here on this left hand side, and then we start to talk about modules and features. So employee benefits is the biggest module really, total reward statements, holidays, there's lots of HR modules. Now the modules that you have installed in your system all depend on what you needed or what you want at the time of sort of instructing us to create the platform for you. So we'll have established that you need employee benefits, total reward statements, and holidays and absence, for example. So we will have installed those modules on your system and they're ready for you to use. Okay, so if I go back to here, if I just quickly look through this, actually, the expression manual that talks about the various properties and expressions. So things like forenames. If you're on a page and you want to say your forename is, then you can use this is an example of an expression that you can use. But also this goes into a list of functions which are similar in a way to Excel or VBA or that sort of thing, where you can actually start to sort of put some real complex functionality into it. FAQ, as I said, this is more a kind of how do I do this, how do I do that, and this is a sort of a good example of, if I want to say how do I sum numbers in expression rather than concatenate them. So you may not ask that exact question, but hopefully this sort of search menu will be able to find that kind of answer for you. Next up here we've got the notification center, which once we start to have a look at the admin users, then we can go into that more detail. But basically this is where we can say you as an admin user can subscribe to system events that are happening on the system. So most of what happens on the system is logged as a system event. And you can turn that system event into a notification and be warned of things that are happening. So when somebody enrolls in a benefit, that creates a system event. When somebody books a holiday or cancels a benefit or whatever, that creates a system event, and you can get notified on that notification. It's quite an older part of the system. We're starting to move more of that kind of notification into specific emails on the modules, but that's there to be used. The next menu is to do with secure messaging, and I believe there is probably a page on secure messaging. So here's a good example of this is how it works, this is how you can set it up. Here's a little picture of the menu items, so you can start to see how it works. In this case, there are 6 new messages from users. This is basically where tenant users on the front end can send a secure message to somebody on the back end, a question to be asked, and that it creates a sort of a threaded response. So you can have a little bit like the ticket system, where you can have sort of questions and answers. And the final bit is my profile, my email library activity. So here I can see email. So any emails that are sent through the system are stored, or most emails sent through the system are stored in the email library per user. So I can see all the emails that are sent to me. I can have a look at the activity, the system event activity that is associated with me. Down the left-hand side, we've got, this is the platform level that we're at. So we're at the kind of the home level. The next page down is content management. So this deals with what we call platform level content management. And when we say platform level, it means stuff that is stored at the platform level that can then be accessed in individual tenants. So if you have a page, a contact us page that is generic to your company, and it's sort of got your address and your phone numbers on there, and you want all of your individual tenants, all the company websites, to be able to display that page, you can write that page at platform level and it will display for all the pages. And if you change it at platform level, if you introduce a new telephone number or a new address or something, then that will automatically filter through to all of the individual tenants. So we've got the platform level content management is made up of files and images. So files are essentially PDF documents, that sort of thing, where you can sort of host sort of information about standard sort of contracts or information. Images, the images page that deals with first of all, it's split in two areas. We've got icons, which is just a reference to our Font Awesome library. So it just sort of shows examples of Font Awesome icons that can be used. These are actually sort of CSS based icons. We'll come back to that in a different video. But also images. So these are images that are dropped in at platform level, so are therefore available to all tenants within it. So you might have your own set of sort of standard icons here, so you can see what it looks like, what the icons look like. When you upload images, it actually changes. I think that image might used to have been called activities.png or something like that, but it's actually stored on the database with an obfuscated name. So that if you click on that, it will save it to your clipboard. That is the actual name in terms of dropping that image into a page. That is what the actual image is. We've got pages. Pages are broken down into page templates, so you could create a page template with a path. I'll just write something in here to get started. Save and publish that page template. So the path is what the actual path would be when you visit it on a site. And here is an example. So this is based on, if you say, that would be company1.myworkpal.co.uk/pages/ whatever is written here. So that actually builds that path name. Typically that page is referenced in a site in the menu structure or something like that, but that is how the page is actually shown. This says whether you want to allow anonymous viewing, so you can actually set it so that it can be seen without being logged in. So you might have a set of information pages up front before users log into the system, and you could create quite a complex sort of structure of pages there. Restrict by, if you do have to be logged in, then you can restrict it by expression, and this is where we get into the complexities of who can see this page. So this starts to use the expressions of checking to see whether you are a XYZ office, that sort of thing. So the buttons down here, save and publish page template. We do have this notion of saving it without publishing it, so you can save sort of make a load of edits and save it without publishing it, but we tend to not use that too much really. Just go for the save and publish template. Next we've got document templates, and these are really for creating PDF documents that can be used within certain areas of the system, typically with employee benefits. So if you want to create a contract or a benefit contract or that sort of thing, so you can create that document. You can drop in the relevant information such as your name or your company, the company's name and address, or the level of cover you've chosen, that sort of thing. And during the process of selecting or enrolling in a benefit, it can say these are the contract documents to do with this benefit, and it will work based on the template that you've created here, and it will drop that and it will create a PDF document from that. So beneficiaries PDF report template, if we were to have a look at that. So this is what it looks like, and it's going to be drop in various bits of information into this page. So we've got some example document templates there. Email templates. We've got quite a few email templates in there which are part of the system, and you shouldn't or can't delete them. So things like account processed invite, for example. This is the email that we were looking at previously. So this is an email. It's created based on a template, so it's got standard wording. It's got areas that it needs to drop in information specific to you. So in here it says administrator created account for you. Within that, your username is that. Here is the link, etc. So this is signature at the bottom. So this is the kind of the standard email. Now you can, again, this email template would be used by effectively by all tenants. But when we start to load up a create a tenant in a minute, then we can see how you can override this email template. So if you want a very specific email template for an individual company, then you can override it. But these are the kind of the basic ones that have been set up to actually make it work. Libraries, we've got in this area we can look at dashboard templates. So this is broken down into admin user dashboards or client dashboards. Client dashboards are for creating dashboards in the individual tenants, where you can create sort of multiple widgets and things like that. Admin dashboards are where you can create a library of default dashboards that you could set up for your admin users. And this is quite a useful tool if you want to say, right, so what dashboard type, the platform dashboard, what widgets by default do you want to include on that dashboard. I'm just going to quickly create a blank dashboard. So there's nothing in that dashboard. If I go back to here, I can see I've now got my new blank platform dashboard. Now, if I go back to here, this is my dashboard as as my sort of admin account. So it's got 2 widgets in it. Now you may have some HR administrators who've created a dashboard. You might have changed their permissions. They might have widgets in there from when they had permissions previously, and they don't have permissions now. So occasionally the dashboards just go wrong, and you just need to tidy them up. So what you can do is you can say, right, let's go to the user. So if I go and find myself as an admin user, I'm just going to wipe out my dashboard. So I can see that this is my account, so it says you in brackets here, so I can see that. So I can manage myself, manage my admin user account. And here I can say, right, I want to clear my custom dashboard and I want to set the default as the blank dashboard. If I save that now, I then go back to here, I've now got a blank dashboard. So you can go to any particular user you want and sort of blank out their dashboard. And this goes for dashboards at tenant level and at user level as well. So we'll start to have a look at how they work later. So the client dashboards, they're more for creating sort of HR platform dashboards. If I have a look at this one, we can see it's got company announcements, compliance, holidays, expenses. So again, these are all widgets. Widgets are basically blocks of HTML that have some functionality, and they know who you are logged in, so they can say, right, you have this number of days holiday left, or you have this many outstanding messages, that sort of thing. Next thing we've got here is menu builder. You can build a default menu that would show on your tenants. So what we suggest is if you have a kind of a standard setup that you want to offer your clients, a standard vanilla sort of tenant with your standard menu structure on it, you can build that up in here, and then when you create a tenant, you don't have to create the menu for them specifically. It will just inherit this platform level menu. But that will start to make sense when we start to look at the actual tenants themselves. Knowledge base articles, this is where you can you can actually create knowledge base articles about various pages. So if I was to go back to admin user dashboards, for example. So up here, we've got this link here, add a knowledge base article. Now previously we looked at the knowledge base in here, so quick start guide and the FAQ and all this sort of thing, and specifically help on this page, and that tells you about dashboards and how they work, that sort of thing. Let's just get rid of that. But this is where you yourself can create your own knowledge base articles for your users, for your clients, or for your own internal staff. So whereas these articles are how we at Avantus would help you, and they go into quite a highly technical nature. They go quite deep into the technicalities of things. It's not necessarily the kind of help that you might need to provide to your HR users. So this is where you can create your own internal knowledge base. So if you were to give, this is a bad example because you probably wouldn't give your HR users the access to this page, but if you did and you wanted to give them some information on how to use it, you can click here and say, let's create an article about this page. So what was the page again? So content management, admin dashboards. So if I call this admin dashboards, so this is how admin dashboards work. So you can write whatever you need to in there. So I'll just close that down, refresh that screen. So now up here I've got a new icon. So that says there is a knowledge base article about this page. So if you click on that, you can say, admin dashboard, this is how it works. You can open it in a new tab if you want to. But that will start to get very relevant when you're dealing with pages about something like the user's employee details or salary details, and those are pages that your HR admin users might use, but you want to give them some guidance on how to use it. So what do each of the fields mean, and what you should do, and call this number if you want any help. So it's purely your communication with your clients. So this page here, or this link here, is where you can, if you've created those, then you can actually manage them. You can edit them as well. So that, this sort of that area could really sort of build up. Snippets. This is going to be a video of all of its own. It's really, snippets are encapsulated blocks of code or text or HTML or logic. They can do massive things. The snippets are very, very widely used by all of our clients, and very, very extensively used to help build tenants and logic and build up the system. As you can see, we've got quite a few pages in here. These snippets are, again, we are at platform level, so all these snippets are available to all tenants, and they can be overridden within a specific tenant. Again, that will start to make sense when we start to actually look at a tenant. Next on this menu is back office. This is where we've got the links to the actual individual tenants. So you can create a tenant. You've got the list of all of the tenants. If I click on create tenant, then this goes through a sort of a simple wizard to actually create the tenant. So we've got the name, the subdomain. So this will actually create the company name. So that is what the link will be when you actually set that tenant live. The tenant theme, we will have created specific theme or themes for you, and typically this will be provided to you with the standard MWP theme, which is fairly sort of inoffensive and generic. But we will also create your own theme that looks that reflects your company. Language and locales, these are to do with if you want to set a tenant as a specific language and or currency or date format. Um, there's more in the knowledge base about that, but to actually set a different language format, that it does require that you would actually sort of rewrite, or you would provide alternative language versions for all of the different words on the screen, that sort of thing. Private homepage and public homepage. So if you once you're logged in, it will send you to my benefits, for example, and the public homepage. If you leave it blank, it will just default to. So when you land on the site, it will go to the login screen, or it could go to pages test, the page that we created earlier. So you could set it to go to a different start page. In demo mode, we suggest you keep it in demo mode whilst you're still working on it. Once you're ready to go live, then take it out of demo mode, and at that point we start to charge for the per user account that you got on the system. There is also a method to import a tenant. So that is based on, if you were to take a tenant, you can, when you're editing a tenant, you can export that tenant, which exports the configuration of all of the benefits and the TRS and various other bits and pieces, and it basically takes a copy of it. The other method is that you can clone a tenant, so you could create your standard vanilla tenant, or a couple of different versions of vanilla, of a sort of vanilla 1, vanilla 2, that sort of thing, and then you can clone it, and it's a very quick job of just say, right, let's take that, we'll give it a new name, and of course new subdomain, give it a company name, use define which modules or which settings you want to pull over. So you want to include any resources or modules, metadata, snippets, etc. that were in this tenant that we were copying. You can then say which which role-based administrators you want to give access to this tenant. So you might have people within your team who should only have access to certain tenants. So you can say, right, let's give these people access to that tenant, and then on to next, and then save, and that will actually create that tenant for you. Okay, if we come back to here, then we've got admin users. So this is the page we were looking at. I was looking at briefly. So this is where you can say you can create new system administrators. You can create new system administrators. So if we were to take this administrator, it's got the username. The name, we do suggest that you have actual people as administrators rather than admin 1, admin 2, because anything that happens on the system is logged against an administrator. So if you want to audit who it is, then you can actually sort of see the name. We got the email address. This is the secret key when the administrator is created for the first time. Login is enabled, or you can pause login for somebody. This person is a system administrator. If they weren't a system administrator, you would say which role or roles they should have access to. So out of the box, I think it comes with like just a couple of roles, but this is up to you to manage what roles you want people, what you want to give to administrators, and you can define those roles yourself. And that's all down to how you want to sort of run your team and run your access for your different administrators. So a role-based administrator needs to have roles, and they need to have access to specific tenants. So you can say which tenants they have access to. This is the notification group, so you can say where so this is the notification group. So this is where you can say what you want to be notified of. So we've got the list of actions that can be notified. So you'd say, right, I want to know when benefits are terminated, and I want to be sent an email, and then click add, and that will say that will create a little bell icon that says when somebody has terminated a benefit. And this I can see that this administrator has these scheduled reports. But if we were to look at roles, this is where you can create and define roles. So you can say, I want to add a new role called page editor, and you would say, right, they need to have access to within tenants, they need to have access to content. So they need access to the tenant at the very least, and they need access to content. They need access to page templates, and this is, they would have read permission and write permission. Also, let's give them access to page templates imports. It's where you can import a page template from platform level. So we'll say what they need to have access to. Also, they would probably just log in to a tenant. You don't want to give them access to the platform level content management. So then you'd save that role, and then that role is there available for you to add, to provide to your HR administrators. There's quite a lot around testing with admin users and roles. So we would suggest what you do is you create the roles that you want, create dummy admin users, maybe with a personal Gmail account or an account that you can get hold of, and then log in to the system under that account role. So certainly with Chrome, you can say, right, let's create a new incognito window. So you can go to that. You can then go to the site, and you would log into. You could log in as that new test user, and then you can test and check what permissions that user has. So that's really useful too if you want to build up a range of roles and permissions that user should have access to, or that any admin user who has those roles has access to, and you can test those and check how they work. And the reason that we say try it with an incognito mode is that you can run this test user in this window, and you can run your full system administrator in this. So you can design the roles and test them and check them, and then change them here. Admin user security is more around, so this is to do with whether you require regular password resets and whether you want to, so you should reset password every 60 days, and you are not allowed to reset your password to any of the previous 3 versions of the password. So that's all around admin user security. So again, that's whatever you want to set your security policy at within your company. API clients, that's something that is handled in a separate knowledge base article. So that's not really for this stage. Annuities is a module that we'll go into later. Libraries, we've got benefit templates. So this is if you've got employee benefits and you've created benefit templates that you can store for use in different tenants, then it's got all those benefit templates here, and you can edit them and change the name and add them, delete them. Products and providers, there's something to do with, again, within benefits, they can allow you to define a product, define a benefit as a product and owned by a provider, and that's to do with if you need to notify providers of enrollments within benefits, or if you need to provide contact details for specific providers. Rate tables, again, it's generally used within benefits, so it's PMI rates, but also it can be used as a lookup table for various things. And again, that we'll go through that in detail on the benefits. And lookup tables, that's a more complex version of rate tables, where you can create a spreadsheet of lookup tables. Fact finds, this is a specific module, so that depends on whether it's installed on your system, as is Calc Engine. So Calc Engine is where you can create very long and complex page calculators. So rather than web, it's a way of web enabling a complex spreadsheet. Metadata, we tend to use metadata within a tenant rather than at platform level. It started out at platform level, but now it's moved to in the tenant. Metadata is a way really to extend the capability of data at on a tenant, or on the company details page of a tenant, or personal details of each individual user, or employee details. So you could say, right, flex funds amounts, name, whatever. So you can create metadata and extend the information. We'll go into that in more detail when we start looking at a tenant. Builder at platform level is where you can build reports, which is actually it's split into a number of areas. So report builder is really a query builder. So we will go into it in more detail when we start to look at the report builder in tenant level. This is where on the left hand side we give you access to all by and large the whole of the database, really. So we can look at all the information about within the tenants. A vast majority of the information goes on within the users section, so their personal details, employee details, all of this data here. So display name for the user, their system ID, lots of information here. Within employment details, we've got stuff going on here, so salary and information, user access groups, training records. So it's very, very extensive what can go on here. And the idea is that you can say, right, I want what columns, what information do I want to show in this spreadsheet. So I would say, right, I want their system ID and their username, and I want to see their display name. And if we close down users, I want to look at the tenant name. So what tenant are people in? And then if I click preview report, that will start to spin around, and it will say, right, that this is the data. So this cuts it down to the top 50 records at the moment, but then you can click to download it. So here I can see the display name, the username, and I can see the tenant that they're in. And in this case, there's an awful lot of people within the admin tenant. So then we could start to use conditions. So we can say, right, where the tenant name, hold on a second, is not equal to admin. So I only want to see a list of users who are not in admin. So there you go, we've got a whole load of people within company one. So again, because this is at platform level, I've got a view, I've got access to all of the tenants within this system, or rather all of the tenants that I have permission to see. And because I'm system administrator, I can see all tenants, so that can give me a full view of the whole lot. Report builder can get very, very complex, and depending on what you want to see, what conditions you want to see, this can get quite sort of lengthy. What you want to do, but again, there's always help articles on how to actually put these together, and some examples on how to put the different reports together. As I say, this just shows the top 50 rows, but if you want to download the whole lot, you click download here, and that sends it off to a scheduled service. So because this can get quite lengthy, rather than actually get the kind of effectively this page to start building this data and saving it for you, we send it to a separate task server that we've got running. So the task server is separate to the web server. It takes the instruction to do something, and leaves the web server to carry on showing the pages. So I can carry on moving around the page, or I can just go and have a look at whether that task server has worked. So the username is the name of the A1 username is the name of the report, and it says it's queued. If I click on view the queue, it opens up a separate tab, so I can actually go and see whether that is downloaded. And it's a fairly quick one anyway, so that is downloaded. So I just click here and then download that spreadsheet. So we talk about scheduled tasks a lot. We talk about the task server a lot. It's effectively an example of that task server working in the background. So that is an immediate scheduled task. So we click to download the report. It sends it to the task server. It starts working on it straight away. There's quite a few scheduled services that run at certain times during the day, or once a month, or once a year, that sort of thing. So there's an awful lot of tasks that run overnight. So to enroll people into benefits, or to set benefits active, that sort of thing. They don't need to be doing them live every 5 minutes. They just need to do them every sort of on a scheduled time. Next thing, we've got merged reports, which is where you can stitch together one or more report builder type reports. So to create a kind of a pivot table of report data. And again, we'll go into that in more detail at tenant level, because it starts to make a bit more sense to do it there. Pause. Static reports. The most important thing here really is the benefits payroll report. So here you can say, right, which tenant. You can go to any given tenant, and you can download the benefits payroll report, and that will spit out all of the users within that tenant down in rows, and then along in columns it will show you all of the benefits and who is enrolled in that benefit and what the level of that enrollment is. Finally, on this bit, we've got file transfers. We have a secure file transfer system where if you need to send a file to another administrator, so if you need to send a report file to one of your clients, rather than send it via email, which is an insecure route, so an awful lot of people will take a spreadsheet, zip it up, password protect that zip file, but that password can be cracked quite easily within those systems. So we have a secure file transfer area here, so you can say, right, let's add a file upload. Your report. So we can say, right, give it a description. When you want it to disappear after a month, 3 months, 6 months, so it will automatically tidy away that file. And then you can click here and say, right, what file do you want to send to somebody? I was to take that file there, click open, so that drops that file in there, and then I'll say, who do I want to send this file to? So let's send this file to it wouldn't make sense to send it to myself, but that's actually a different admin user. So you can send it to a different user, and then off it goes. So that will now have sent an email to that admin user saying a file is ready for you to download, and it will give them a link to that file, and they get pretty much this sort of view. So your report is created here, and then you can click to download that file. So because it's all done on this system whilst you are logged in, it's all under HTTPS. It doesn't need to send the files over email, so it's all secure. So it's all like the kind of a sort of a you send it sort of service where it's all transferred securely. The last menu that we've got on here is the system menu. So this is more about the sort of the real workings of the system. So this is where we've got the menu for modules. So this is all the modules, and in this case, it's actually all the modules that we have available to MyWorkPal. But this will just show the modules that you have on your platform and whether you can enable them, disable them if you need to. Resources. Okay, so if I was to take one of our tenants, for example, if I go to beta.myworkpal.co.uk, so that lands on this page, this typical login page for a tenant. Now, resources deal with generally sort of words, sometimes snippets of HTML that appear on the page. So this page is made up of HTML that puts in a username and a password box and a button that says login and a link here that says I can't remember my password, that sort of thing. Now, instead of actually writing all of those words into the HTML on the pages, we've created all of these bits of text in a resources library. So let's have a look at login. Okay, so login.login. So that I click to edit that. So this is the name of the resource. So this dot syntax login.login. So what we're saying here is we'll create a button, we'll create a little icon, and the button does something. But instead of actually writing the word login on the HTML on the page, we've said go and get whatever is defined to be written on that. And in this case, it's just the word, just the phrase log in. So we can change that. So if we want to say log me in instead, and that's how you want to define it on your platform. We just change it there, and then when we refresh this page, it's changed. It says log me in. Now you may have some of your clients who have their specific requirements of what they want to be on that page, or for each of these resources, but you can do that on their tenant itself. So you can actually specify an override at tenant level. And really, this is a very good example of what we call, or what we term as platform level versus tenant level. So we have default at platform level, and out of the box, a very simple tenant will use the platform level resources in this case. But you can change it at the tenant level as well, so you can override it at tenant level. And that's the same principle goes for pages and documents and snippets and lots of areas. Incidentally, on here we've got this is where we've got the different country locale versions of what would be placed there for log me in. So Spanish, German, French versions, etc. So if you set a tenant as being Spanish, it will use that. It will put that word, that phrase in there instead of log me in. So that's resources. Settings is a very similar principle, but it's more to do with numbers and trues and falses and things like that. So is email enabled? What is the minimum password length? All that sort of thing. And again, it's too lengthy really to go through in this video, but you can we will quite often make reference to change. We'll make reference to a setting and say this is where you need to change the setting to do that. And again, that can be overridden at tenant level specifically for that tenant. Locales is really just the list of locales and the sort of like more definition behind that, and how the date format structure. Notification types manages what the types of notifications that can come into here. Again, there's a bit more details on that in the knowledge base. Non-working days is around the HR system to do with holiday booking calendar. So non-working days are typically bank holidays. So you can specify what are the holidays for bank holidays for each year. Single sign-on is inbound and outbound. So this is the ADFS single sign-on inbound, or SAML2 outbound, where we can create SSO configurations. And home insurance is a specific module. So this is some specific configuration for that module. Domains, you can have multiple domains hosted on the system, so you can have different propositions, different domain names. Most of our clients just have the single domain, but you can have multiple domains, and this is more sort of like management around that. Widgets manages the dashboard widgets. So we were looking at the platform level dashboard widgets. You can manage some of them, or you can create some widgets yourself. Monitoring is around the scheduled tasks. So these are all, I spoke about the scheduled tasks earlier, so these are the scheduled tasks that are running. So we've got quite a lot of uh, benefits activating or this sort of thing. So various bits and pieces that are going on. System events, unfortunately at this stage the system events page runs very, very slowly, but this just lists all of the actions that have gone on within the system. But we suggest that it's best to look at system events at a user level so you can see what's happening per user. We'll go into that later. Admin config is where you can define some specific resources or settings just for this tenant. So you can, if you wanted to set the different wording for the different menu structure or areas around this admin system, you can do that here. Utilities are some things to reset the system, to reset the cache, restart the application. So really to be sort of used with caution at this area, but occasionally we need to give the system a bit of a reboot, so we can click reset cache. So that is, and if I click reset cache, then we'll start right from scratch, go back to the beginning and deselect that tenant, and we should now land back on the admin dashboard. So that really is a quick walk around the platform level admin system. And the next video we'll go into will be more detail around actually selecting a tenant and what you can do within that.